Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and our guests, soon to not be a guest anymore, to this meeting of online presenters. We've now begun. Now, guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active Toastmasters International member and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches, or alternately, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and your role if you have one. Right-click, select rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries and apparently dimensions throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language and word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording this meeting and your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please remain muted when you're not speaking. Has he gotten his regular legs back? Well, he was on a cruise, was on a vacation, but not from us. But I do believe he'll be with us for the entire meeting. And just to say, everybody gear up, get ready, EVE. We're having a conference. He'll tell you more. Please help me welcome our newly put in place, but for a little while, President David Carr.
Thank you, Joni. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see everybody here tonight. We still want to get more people in the door. And so we are going to be working to try and drum up some excitement in any way that we can think of. But that's really all I wanted to say for tonight. I am back on dry land. My wife did not throw me overboard because I did go to dinner after I left the meeting last week. And I look forward to a great meeting today. Let us introduce our Toastmaster of the day, another person who's been drafted at the last minute, but I'm sure will do a great job. Toastmaster of the day, Jim Barber.
Thank you, David. My fellow Toastmasters, I am your spontaneous Toastmaster of the day. I just wanted to work that in so I get off the hook with the grammarian of using the word of the day. I'll even use it a second time just to make sure that everybody's paying attention. Spontaneous, so there. Okay. We're putting it together at the last minute, but I think everything is going to come together very well. Let me introduce our supporting roles for the moment, and then we will do our tip of the day. One of our supporting roles is, you've already heard from, David Carr. He is the timer this evening. David, would you please tell everybody what you're going to be doing?
Yes, I will be signaling to the speakers, the evaluators, the table topics speakers as well, when they are starting to run out of time, or at least when they've met their minimum time as well. And so you'll see my background change at a few different intervals. So for table topics, it'll be a minute, we go green, minute 30, we go yellow, and at 2 minutes, we go red. All the intervals are like that. Whenever you hit the red, that means you've got 30 seconds to step on the brakes before you are over time and disqualified. Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, David. Nicely done. Our counter this evening is our soon-to-be member, Henry Kruger. Henry, as the Wizard of Oz tonight, what are you going to be doing?
Good evening, all. I will be counting all the R's as I've been doing since we started the meeting. That means any fillers like a R, a and a long pause. So look out for those fillers. I will be checking out for those as well. and I will also be the evaluator for Joni. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Great. I thought I was muted there. Thank you very much, Henry. Good job. All right. Our grammarian this evening has been voluntold into his position. I hope he has checked and seen that he is the grammarian. If not, surprise, Andy, you're the grammarian this evening. What are you going to be doing?
I just checked in with the chat box and noticed that I was voluntold for grammarian. The grammarian's role is to listen actively, to identify incorrect use of words, to listen for who has seen that the word of the day is spontaneous and who has incorporated that word into their own speech pattern. I will spontaneously mention that that word of the day is spontaneous. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. And let's see, our next role is the watcher, and it is one of the few roles that is not being spontaneously filled this evening because our watcher signed up for that role a number of days ago, our watcher being me. As the watcher this evening, I am basically the visual grammarian for the meeting. I am going to be watching everybody and making sure that their use of the visual frame, their lighting, everything about their visual presence works. And I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Back to me. Our chat monitor this evening is Gregory Bundschoks. Gregory, what are you going to be doing as a chat monitor?
Well, concentrating on my speaking, I guess voluntold for this one. As a chat monitor, I'm going to be monitoring the communications that are occurring in our chat area to end up offering some insights on some benefits to the club, to everyone else, and just insights that are pertinent to our meeting. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Gregory. We know you're speaking tonight. We appreciate your stepping up to handle that second role as well. Thank you. All right, and finally, possibly the most important role of all, because it is given to somebody that can count. And our vote counter this evening is Andre. Andre, what are you going to be doing?
Thank you, Jim. As you rightly guessed, my role is simple and straightforward and very responsible at the same time. I will be counting votes. And on top of that, I will be using a specially developed for this purposes tool on our website. So when the vote will come into play, I will post the link in the chat box. Please click the link and cast your vote. Very, very important. Back to you, Jim.
Great. Thank you, Andre. And now, one of the most valuable parts, in my opinion, of online presenters. Whoops, AI Companion is on. Okay. One of the most valuable parts of online presenters is something that is, as far as I know, unique to this club as well, which is our tip of the day. And our tipster this evening is coming to us from the future, Graham Carnes. So Graham, what tip do you have for us?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. Look, this is going to sound a bit like a not so humble brag, but I've actually won the district table topics contest twice. Not in the district in which I currently am, but in my first iteration in Toastmasters going back many years. Now, I mention that merely to mention this. When we talk about impromptu speaking, most of us think about table topics where you can go off at a tangent, you can do something completely irrelevant, but so long as you entertain the crowd, that's all that really matters. But an impromptu speech can take lots of other different forms as well. Job interviews, telephone conversations, chats with customer service people, your co-workers. And with enough practice, anyone can develop the ability to present ideas clearly in any impromptu speaking situation. What I'm going to be talking about over the next few minutes is some techniques that you can use for that sort of impromptu speaking rather than for table topics as we know it in Toastmasters. We'll start with a 5-step formula. And you might want to take notes down on this because there are some useful tips here. The first is to listen. A good response to any question that you're given depends on you being attentive, and careful listening can provide a part of your response. The old Toastmasters slogan was better listening, better thinking, better speaking, and they were in that order for a really good reason. You need to listen first before you can respond. When you do listen, if you agree, your reply reflects your attention by reinforcing the other person's words. If you disagree, then you can tactfully amend or correct the original statement, but you can only do that if you've actually listened to what they said. Don't interject your own ideas before the other person is finished, but instead focus on what is actually being said. People are more likely to respect and listen to your ideas if you're listening to them first. We've all been in conversations where you know that the other person is just waiting. They're not listening to what you're saying. They're just waiting for their chance to say what they want. Don't be that person. You'll be able to incorporate some of what you've heard into your reply, and that means that it's a conversation rather than just being two people talking at each other. And you'll improve your chances of commenting directly on what you've heard so that you can give on-target responses, particularly important in things like, for example, those job interviews that we were talking about before. A second technique is to pause. Now, this is particularly true in a Toastmasters context, but if you pause before you speak, that gives you a chance to refresh your thoughts and to actually formulate an answer rather than just spouting whatever comes out of your mouth first. Pauses can add drama. They can allow those that you're talking to absorb your message. It gives you the opportunity to respond to humor. Much of this, as I say, is talking in a Toastmasters context, but it's also important that you think before you speak. And of course, a pause is preferable to just verbal diarrhea. The third tip is to confirm, repeat or confirm what it is that you're being asked. Doing that out loud gives you a clearer idea of how to respond, and it helps verify the topic in case you've misunderstood what you're being asked, because we've all been in conversations where we've misunderstood what was being said. So if you say, so you're asking if, and then outline what it is that you think they're saying. The fourth tip is to tell. Be enthusiastic, but stay focused and stick to the essentials. Anyone who's seen me speak extemporaneously knows that I tend to go off at tangents. Don't do that. And don't give in to the urge to analyze every aspect of the question, because in most impromptu or extemporaneous speaking occasions, you're being asked about something specific. So stick to the specifics and then end. When you said what you need to say, don't just keep belaboring the point. Don't flog a dead horse. When you said what you need to say, then stop. There are strategies that you can use. There are 4 common strategies. The first is to express an opinion. State your opinion, justify it with a supporting statement. Use maybe only 1 supporting item if you're answering a question, 2 or 3 if you've got to give a more expansive response, but offer reasons as to why you agree or disagree with the idea or concept that you're being presented with. Address cause and effect. State the situation, discuss the causes and the consequences. You literally do cause and effect. Break the topic down into components and then discuss each component individually. And that's great, particularly with a table topic, but it's also really good if you're asked a tricky question at work. Break it down so that it's easy to understand, or perhaps do the past line, the past, the present, the future. Organize your thoughts that way. I'm going to give you 3 points about any extemporaneous speaking. And the first is to be confident. Remind yourself that pausing is okay. Restating the question will help steady your response and make sure that you're actually responding to what you were asked. Be brief. It's really easy to go off topic and start beginning or repeating statements or adding new points or backtracking. No, stick to your main points and be sincere. Trying to be inventive when you don't know the answer to the question can be really risky because, well, it's far better to admit that you don't know than to respond with something that you make up. Because while the theory is that you can fake it till you make it, there's going to be somebody who knows that you're faking, and that's not a really good way. So those are some tips for extemporaneous speaking, not just in terms of table topics, but in any form of impromptu speaking. So be spontaneous, but think about it before you do. Mr. Toastmaster. It's you, Jim.
I know, I'm pausing. I was also listening. That's how I knew to pause. Okay, enough pausing. Now, thank you, Graham. Great tip. And it obviously affected me. I think everybody is going to benefit from that. Thank you very much. And let's move on to our prepared presentations this evening. Our first presentation is by, I guess, Gregory. I believe you're our newest member, are you not? Yeah, I think so. So Gregory is our newest member and delighted that he's going to be speaking to us tonight. Let's do it. Our first speaker is Gregory Bundschoks. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Is that close enough? All right.
Close enough, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. He's speaking from the Presentation Mastery Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Writing a Speech with Purpose. Following a Purpose is the title of his presentation. As a result of a diverse set of experiences in different knowledge areas, a passion was developed to share this information. The goal I have put forth to myself is the development of a podcast called The Dichotomous Observer. It is a platform designed to help lower the knowledge, gap the healthy states of human being, and empowers listeners to find information that will better their lives by making better health conscious decisions. Wow. All right. Please help me welcome our newest member, Gregory Bundschoks.
Fellow Toastmasters, after that introduction, I guess I got a lot to say in a few minutes. So I suppose we shall get at her. In 1994, I ended up having a motorcycle accident, which was compounded from like a neck crack that I had in playing hockey. And it's caused some health problems for the majority of my life. And I had a herniated disc that occurred in March of 2012 that has provided a complication of head pain and neck trauma on a daily basis. And I was going to the doctor and he had made a suggestion once again to be going back on opiates. And I had a addiction to morphine and painkiller, opiate painkillers when I had that motorcycle accident. And I refused to end up going to that way. And as a result, I started to end up looking at what kind of different alternatives I end up having for myself, thinking, okay, is there more to my life that it seems to be presenting itself at the present time? And as a result, I decided to go back to school. And by going back to school, I'm actually proud to say from 5 years ago that I finally ended up getting my Bachelor of Applied Science degree in horticulture. I ended up doing this to find out how to end up understanding that relationship with plants a little bit more, to now have become integrated into my background, which is included in risk and finance and legal matters, political science, healthcare matters. And using those kind of diversities were something that helped me to become sort of like a food security analyst. And it also helped me to develop some cultivation models for all of our plants to end up understanding how we are looking at the environmental components of what it is that we're actually eating. And as a result of the work that I've done, it's been based upon about the last 2 years where I ended up being proposed to do a research application, which was based on plant phytochemistry. And what that basically means is I was looking at all of our edible plants and the chemistry that's inside that edible plant, and then looking at what are the requirements for a human being to end up being healthy, and then starting to look at connecting those dots on what it actually takes and what kind of plants to actually grow, and doing that in an optimized manner that's more environmentally sustainable and basically healthy. So I ended up going through a research application that wasn't approved, which would have been really nice because it was for $120,000, but didn't end up happening. But nonetheless, I actually built the platforms to end up continuing this work. And then soon thereafter that, a friend of mine came to me who wanted to end up building the largest strawberry farm in the world. So as a result of that, I did the business plan, the risk assessment, and the feasibility study for probably one of the largest vertical strawberry farms in the world. It's actually going for financing approval here fairly shortly. But the whole reason of bringing these to the attention is the fact that this was something that was designed for this dichotomous observer. And I've had this rolling in my mind for quite some time on why do I want to end up doing this? And it really came down to the same thing as the opiates. I wanted to find a way that you could heal through plants without using synthetics or artificials that would possibly be more healthy for the human individual. And then the reason of doing so itself and how I'm going to end up doing that is I've collected data from the United Nations, the World Bank, the CIA Fact Book, USDA, Stats Canada, and compiling all of that information into charts, graphs, sheets that basically make those comparative analysis that I'm basically very shortly going to identify true food security of what ends up being optimized for what we end up eating versus what we should end up eating. And it's going to show an incredible disparity between those two to identify how poor our relationship to plants really is. And in doing so, one of the big things that I ended up doing, actually, this is probably even better yet too, is when looking at, hold on a sec, sorry guys. And where are you? Where'd you go? There we go. So I'm always fascinated by aspects of science. So when you start to end up looking at what the human body is made of, and you start recognizing that from the sperm and the egg, it just basically is a cell duplicating over time. And it's a result of how we end up relating to the external environment of how we become who we are. And when you start looking at what we end up doing with our children and the kids a lot of times, it really starts to end up thinking that, you know, maybe we take a lot of things for granted that we shouldn't end up being. And we're so caught up inside of the market and the commodities of what it is that we end up spending our money on. And the ironic thing is when you start looking at spending money on things like food here in Canada, you end up with things like moldy strawberry. And this picture here in the top left-hand corner is actually a strawberry that I took from a store shelf to show that it's actually moldy already. This is what you're purchasing. Then you start looking at the aspects of the arable land that exists on the planet and the fresh water that exists and the intricate details of water itself and how food insecurity actually even relates even in the world. You start looking at the different type of cultivation systems that need to be applied, and you start looking at the different type of technologies that can be incorporated for this. And the reason why to end up doing so is as a result of most of the agricultural lands are starting to end up being eroded as a consequence of the synthetic fertilizers and the pesticides that are being put onto the lands. So it's making a lot of the lands that we even have for available crops in the future very challenging. And a lot of the fertilizers that are going to be used are under a lot of pressure as well. So our whole dynamics of how we're going to start thinking about food sovereignty, food security, and even health for ourselves in the future is going to be very challenged. So as a result of all of this information, like I said, it just really comes down to, I have a passion in trying to end up sharing all of this information and learning how to do so in a podcast and being able to do it and work with groups like this so I can have your help to end up making it work. I had a quote that I ended up coming across that was based on the work of Dr. Wayne Dyer at one point. And he ended up saying from Patanjali, yeah, when you're inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands into every direction and you find yourself in a new and a great and a wonderful world. One thing that I didn't end up including here was the rest of the quote. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents come alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. And that is the very thing why the dichotomous observer ends up existing, is to help inspire people to become healthier by understanding a little bit more of what it is that goes into the body temple. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Gregory. I'm looking forward to that podcast. That was interesting. Thank you. Our second speaker this evening, one of our shyer speakers, kind of quiet, subdued. We don't hear much from her. Joni-Renee Laidlaw is speaking from the Persuasive Influence Level 5, demonstrating expertise. Reflect on your path. Mr. Timer, it's 10 to 12 minutes. The title of her presentation is Let's Try This Again. So please help me welcome once again, spontaneously, Joni Laidlaw.
I wasn't ready, but the show must go on. Now, I distinctly remember having to say this the first time I completed a pass here at Online Presenters. You see, I had made the presentation and everything was great, except, well, it wouldn't do what you're seeing on the screen. It would load. Everything was, hold on. I'd get there. But you know what? Good design encourages the viewer to want to learn more. That was my whole aim in having all of this done. I was going to show off my prowess as it related to presentation mastery. I was going to demonstrate to everyone how amazing I was and am at presentation. But you know what? I think it turned out that I was actually just holding the space so that I could make sure that Henry got to see it because he wasn't here at the time. Now, the beauty of actually going through a path, starting over, everybody always says, why do we have to do the icebreaker again? I mean, we're doing the exact same thing. I just did this the last time. But I found that the first time that I did an icebreaker was different from the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time, or the fifth time, or the sixth time, or the seventh time, or the eighth time, or the ninth time. I think I'm up to the 10th time. You see, the beauty of what happens when you keep redoing it is that you actually get the chance to increase your skills based on what you were doing before. You may have honestly thought that, oh, I knocked this out the park, or actually genuinely understand what I'm doing now. And as you can see, I am still learning. See, here I am having to be spontaneous. But I can say that the beauty of actually doing persuasive influence was realizing that an essential aspect when you're involved in creativity is not being afraid to fail. Most of the time, whenever we have something that we have to persuade others of, we feel that we have to be perfect. You see, it's far easier to build something new than to rework somebody else's attempt. Or in my case, my previous attempt that failed so miserably. My thought was, well, why go over? And that's why I like the fact that we redo level 1. I get a chance to redo the same idea in a different way. That way, if miraculously, spontaneously, the presentation or the time arises where you have to give a presentation that you have as a pocket speech, you'd have already gone through most of the steps that you'd probably be able to do it, let's just say, a bit impromptu. So when I moved to level 2 of persuasive influence, it came time for me to divert a little. There was the what's my leadership style? Now, every single time I do this, I keep my fingers crossed. Please let me be a coach. Please let me be a coach. But this time I stopped and I noticed that there were other parts to it. Before, when I redid it, I looked at what I didn't want to be. I know I do not want to be a bureaucrat. I hate red tape. I think it is the death of everything that we do, and it gets in the way of progress. I mean, after all, sometimes some of the things that we have to, or the hurdles that we have to jump through, just make things harder for people to get stuff done. And then worse, get stuff redone. So I always keep my fingers crossed whenever I get there. Please don't let me be a bureaucrat. Please don't let it move. Let it remain at the bottom. This time, I looked at the bell curve. For those of us who don't know what the bell curve is, we have the starting and we have the end. So we have what we're highest at, and then we will also have what we are lowest at. That's the bell curve. That's where we fall. I looked at, well, every everything else. And I realized that being a democratic leader was really, really close to being a coach. I contemplated how those two fall in line. And if I hadn't done this 8, 9, 10, I've lost track at this point times, it wouldn't bring my mind to the point where I would contemplate that little slight nuance. And those tiny nuances make a huge difference when it comes to introspection and personal evaluation, but also your delivery. Now, by this time, I had made so many egregious mistakes when it came to actually giving speeches or getting stuff done or sharing, and that at this point, for me, I just figured it was through mistakes that you actually can grow, and you have to get bad in order to get good. I tell everybody I cannot even sell ice to a man in a desert who is dying. My sales pitches, you want it? No? All right, cool. I was never persuasive, and that's why I chose this path. I was always a with him kind of person. For those who don't know what with him is, that's basically what's in it for me. I know that inherently people will always ask that question, what's in it for me? And I always led with what's in it for the other person. And every conversation I had, I would always contemplate, go over, and actually try to figure out what was in it for the other person and bring that out as the initial and most important part of the conversation. But going through persuasive influence, and by the time I hit the level 3, I realized that with him was my biggest selling point for everyone else, but not for me. Think about it. What's in it for me? No, I'm the kind of person who does not like sleight of hand. I like when people come and they're honest, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's either you can or you cannot. I've never been the kind of person who wants to do a sales pitch and you give this nice, beautiful fluff and you paint the perfect image of how everything is perpetually going to be sunny and roses. And then when you go there, you realize it's a guagi swamp that's filled with mosquitoes and you're constantly going, stop, 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 in order to survive. Based on that fact, I was never into sleight of hand. So when I do a what's in it for me for the person, what you see is what you get. Remember, my sales pitch. You want it? International audience, Jamaican accent. Do you want it? No? Okay. But realizing that what's in it for me also creates a lack of trust. Because if you just keep telling people what's in it for them, what's in it for them, what's in it for them, they're going to sit and wonder, what are you hiding? What's in it for you? And somewhere around level 3, it dawned on me that I need to be able to do that. I don't only need to be able to tell people what's in it for them, I also need to be able to communicate what was in it for me. You see, design communication is clearly whatever means that you can control or master. Meaning, this was what was in it for me. This is what I can control and master of the situation. And this is what I genuinely expect to get out of it. Hopefully, if things go right. It's not all about knowing the gimmicks and the photo tricks and, like I said, sleight of hand. And I know, Kim, you're a magician. This advice does not count for you because you need sleight of hand. Ensure that the hand is quicker than the eye. But for me, it was always about the fact that perfection wasn't achievable. But when I go in to do a sales pitch or let somebody know what's going to happen, I can't promise perfection. I would tell people what's in it for them, And I'd paint the picture, not all sunny and roses, because I believed in leading with, well, the negative. If you can live with the negative of the situation, well, guess what? Then I can make sure that whatever you want happens. But if you can't, let me not waste your time and, well, you not waste mine. It really is that simple. You want it? No? All right, cool. Not a very good sales pitch in all cases when somebody's expecting you to actually bring your A game at all times. Is that doable? No. I still, even at level 5, sat and tried to contemplate how to mitigate expectations. I'm the kind of person who under promises and over deliver in a world of over promising and under delivering. I hate disappointment, and as such, my persuasion was always based on lead with the worst, and then that way, if we get over that hump, then it's all downhill from here, baby. I hate feeling like Icarus trying to push our boulder up a hill, trying to reach expectations that are just not doable. Because of that, I learned that for me, I needed to change my sales pitch a bit. I needed, when I was being persuasive, to ensure that I had other people know what's in it for them, to mitigate their level of expectations, but also find a crafty way to let persons know we're all humans, we make mistakes, and what you have to bring to the table and what I bring to the table at the end of the day might not actually equate what we think it is. However, what I can promise is that I'm willing to roll with the punches and work with it if we remain honest with each other and give ourselves the room to correct. I remember they were saying that when you're flying from one place to the next, you don't go in a straight line. You adjust according to the wind. It's the same thing when you adjust your sails. That's the thing. You will never get anywhere in a straight line. And what did I learn? That my sales pitch, you want it? No? All right, cool. Might not be the best thing. What's in it for you? What's in it for me? And how do we mutually benefit each other, even if life spontaneously happens to throw things in there that we don't expect? Is how I negotiate and how I've learned to be persuasive with my influence. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Joni. Once again, terrific presentation. Mr. Timer, how did our speakers do this evening?
Well, I'm gonna be mean to Joni because
Uh-oh.
she went over like 10 seconds.
Oh.
And since she's an experienced member of this club, we're gonna hold her to it. So Gregory wins the contest for today.
Congratulations, Gregory. The vote is going to be close, but if you feel like passing your votes to Andre, you can do so, but I think he'll probably figure it out one way or another. And since we have now completed that portion of the meeting, it is now my turn to turn it over to our table topics master, who is just ready to go. She is so excited about this. So without further ado, Kim Leeming, take it away, table topics.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Jim Barber. For tonight's table topics, we're going to be doing crazy invention infomercials, holiday style. Since we're already in the midst of the holiday season, and since food and dinner parties are such a big part of the season, all of tonight's infomercials will involve kitchen gadgets. Here's the deal. You are all going to become salespeople. I'm going to show you a picture and give you a general description of an unusual kitchen gadget. It will then be your job to sell this item to us spontaneous infomercial style. Please feel free to share your experiences with this item to help entice us to make a purchase. The first item for sale tonight is the genuine Fred Pizza Boss 3000. It's a circular saw stainless steel pizza wheel with a removable shield. This unique pizza cutter will blast through pepperoni, extra cheese, and even those pesky anchovies. The owner of this manly pizza cutter will be the envy of all the dads in the neighborhood. The star of this infomercial will be Andre Smolenko. Andre, are you ready to sell us on the circular saw pizza cutter?
Well, thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master. If I understand correctly, my job is to sell this amazing, brilliant Pizza Boss 3000. Is this what my job is? Excellent, then I got it right. If we take into account this precision tool, it consists of a blade, the smoothest, the sharpest blade that will glide through the pizza. The convenient handle that you can easily adjust with your top finger will guide you through the safety measures. All the children and your wife will be excited to see you as the head of your family cutting through. At the same time, if you are, but of course you are a beautiful lady who are really taking care of your household, you would look at this amazing tool as a bit of a challenge. Of course, ladies this day can be heads of the family, and they can use this tool in the same way as any man, using gliding technique, fully safe, and it comes in pink, it comes in red, and even in the leopard dotted spots. And of course, I'm not the one to sell you this Pizza Boss 3000. As you can see, it's selling it itself. However, if you would like to get two for the price of one, please post me private message, then we can discuss it further. And I wish you all the best. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Oh my gosh, I want to order him one in every color. Thank you, Andre. Next up, for our next infomercial, we have Frozen Smiles. This is hold on a second, so sorry. This is a denture-shaped ice cube tray. You'll get grins immediately from the guests at your next cocktail party with this fun conversation starter. The tray is made of food-safe synthetic rubber. The star of this infomercial will be Angela Heath. Angela, are you ready to sell us on the Frozen Smiles denture-shaped ice tray?
My fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, when is the last time you've been at a cocktail party and your drink was hot? It wasn't supposed to be hot, but your host, did not have the denture ice cube tray. Now, I'm telling you this, if you want to be the person in your circle that everyone is excited to come to your cocktail parties, you've got to have this. Just imagine your friends are sipping on a cold beverage and they look down and they see the dentures. They smile, they sip. Their drink is cold. Everyone is happy. And you know what? You're the star of the cocktail party. These are on sale tonight only for $19.99. You heard it correctly, $19.99. There would never be another opportunity to get the denture ice cube tray for this amount of money. If I was you, I would start ordering because they won't last long and your friends will love them as stocking stuffers. Back to you, Table Topics Mistress.
Thank you, Angela. I love being a mistress. How cool is that? Okay, next up is the Agatha spoon holder. This is a witch-shaped spoon holder and steam releaser. The design awarded OTOTO studio brings you this adorable little witch to hold utensils on your cauldron while you brew a delicious portion of food. This is a silicone heat-resistant holder that can be placed near the stove or in a dining area for a more convenient serving and meal prepping. The star of this infomercial will be Henry. Henry, are you ready to sell us on the Agatha witch-shaped spoon holder?
Thank you, Ms. Tabletop Master. This little witch that you get into your kitchen will be the star of attraction when you are cooking soups and all kinds of dishes where you need to have your spoon nice and close to yourself and not hanging inside the soup or anywhere that it's making a mess. So this little witch will be the ideal companion in your kitchen when it comes to your spoons, keeping them safe and everything nice and tidy around you. These witches come in different colors. We've got the purple one here today, and you can get it also in the black, the popular black color, and the ones that really, if you want it, you can get it in white. I personally don't think the white color is an ideal one for kitchen. It gets stained, but I think the black and the purple one will be amazing in your kitchen. And today only, if you order it at our website OTOTO, you will get it for $99.99 for just one. And because it's so special, that's why we're selling it for almost $100 each. Thank you, Ms. Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Henry. Next up, we have a Al Dente, the pasta timer. Don't you wish you could have a little helper to help you keep an eye on your pasta when you're cooking it and let you know when it's just about right? How about a little dinner helper named Al Dente, who has a song written in his heart? This floating singing pasta timer features 4 different tunes, which will be sung at 3, 7, 9, and 11-minute intervals to let you know when different types of noodles are done. The star of this infomercial will be David Carr. David, are you ready to sell us on the Al Dente pasta timer?
Sure I am. The Al Dente pasta timer is revolutionary. I get choked up just thinking about how much this has changed my life, because there are so many times where I have made a mushy pasta because I'm trying to make sure that it is done thoroughly. But even more than that, ravioli. Have you had ravioli where you think it's going to be wonderful, but then the ravioli explode because you have cooked them at too enthusiastic of a boil? Well, with Al Dente, I mean, he gives me such sharp and incisive guidance about when to start the pasta, when to pause the pasta, and when to know that the pasta is done, ideal, and al dente. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Jim. That was awesome. I think this is going to be our last one. You could let me know, Mr. Jim Barber, but I will go ahead and do the last one, which is the Angry Mama microwave cleaner. There are so many nooks and crannies in our microwave. Food gets baked on and it never seems to stay clean for very long. But don't despair. This little kitchen gadget works to release all the gunk from your microwave walls and doors with just a little water and a little bit of vinegar. Simply fill the Angry Mama torso with water and vinegar, then put her head on. Steam will come out of the holes in her head, softening any baked on food or grease. The star of this infomercial, if you're willing to do it, Stephanie. Are you ready to sell us on the Angry Mama Cleaner, Stephanie?
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have you been angry when you opened your microwave only to find that the previous user had food splatter all over the microwave? And before you can put your slice of pizza in the microwave to make it perfectly warm for you to enjoy, you have to take time to clean this microwave. Not a problem anymore with the Angry Mama microwave cleaner. This perfect little gadget saves you time and energy and saves you from getting high blood pressure over a dirty microwave by cleaning thoroughly for us. In just a matter of 10 seconds, your microwave will be cleaned and ready to use so that you can enjoy your slice of pizza in a matter of seconds. Do not delay. Save your time, save your energy, save your anger by ordering Angry Mama today. Thank you.
Great job. I love it when guests will take table topics. That is awesome. So, Mr. Toastmaster of the day, how are we doing on time? Can I do another one?
It's probably best if we call it quits now.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Great job.
Thank you, Kim. Entertaining and challenging table topics. I know that you're prepared to do more. I hope that you will sign up to be Table Topics Master again very soon, and you can continue these and do the rest of them. We'd love to hear the rest of them. Mr. Timer, could you posted the times in the chat. Very good. So if it looks like everybody qualified, so if you would please cast your vote for your favorite Table Topics response, pass them in whatever way. There it is. Vote for Table Topic Speaker. Vote for your favorite Table Topic Speaker. And while you are doing that, I will relinquish control of the meeting to our General Evaluator. I think this is probably the last, well, almost the last time that you'll hear from me. For now, let's turn it over to our General Evaluator, Mary Ann Grady. Mary Ann, take it away.
Why, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'm Mary Ann Grady from Fernandina Beach, Florida, and I am wearing a down vest today. It is cold here. I wasn't expecting that when I moved to Florida. Well, tonight I am your general evaluator, and this is the gift of feedback section of our meeting where I feel that we learn the most because we hear tips and tricks to help us do better in the future. So we're going to start off with evaluator number 1, Carolina Ramirez, and she will be evaluating Greg Bundschoks following a purpose. Please welcome Carolina.
Thank you, Marianne. Gregory is working in the path Presentation Mastery, the project Writing a Speech with Purpose. And the objective of this speech is to present a well-organized speech with a defined purpose. And his purpose is to create comfort speaking freely about a subject knowledge. Gregory, you excelled at storytelling. The fact that you start your speech with your personal story about your accident is very good to engage your audience, especially because you are starting your speech and you need your audience to pay attention about what you are about to say. Then your content has a lot of value. You can help many people, and because sometimes you cannot find solutions in traditional medicine, and you talk about plant nutrition, because even though the medicine is very, very advanced, not all the problems are solved. I have a personal story about an allergy, so I felt identified with your content. And you excelled at your visual aids. They are very good in order to understand your job and what you're trying to do. You may want to work on. I would suggest to speak slower, doing more pauses in order to emphasize your content and what you're saying. Because you are sharing a lot of information, and maybe information that could be complicated, nutrition, plants, maybe you could choose 1 or 2 topics and go deeper in what you're saying. Because you want your audience to remember what you're saying and to understand all the content you are sharing. Since I'm your evaluator, I have to give you homework, something to challenge yourself. Maybe you could split your content in several chapters because you are preparing a podcast, or choose 1 or 2 topics and go deeper. And at the end of your speech, engage your audience to listen to the next chapter of your podcast by giving some clues about what's coming in the next chapter. Practice that. Gregory, congratulations and good luck with your podcast. Back to you, Miss General Evaluator.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That was very helpful, Carolina. Next up, we have evaluator Henry Kruger, and he will be evaluating Joni-Renee Laidlaw's speech. Please put your hands together for Henry.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I've got the privilege of evaluating Joni Laidlaw this evening on her speech, Let's Try It Again. Let's try this again. This speech was done, it was a reflection of her path. She completed her path recently, and she had to reflect on her path. So the purpose of this speech was, of this project, is for the member to reflect on her growth during the completion of the entire path. And I didn't hear all the speeches, but it sounded really exciting to follow what Joni is, the path that she's gone through. She excelled in eye contact, like all her speeches that I've seen so far. She's always making real good eye contact to the camera or to the audience. She's very passionate about her presentation, and yep. So that's that part of that. And then what I found, what she could maybe work on, is when she spoke about the icebreaker, when she said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and maybe 10. I would have made it just a little bit short. Just said 1, 2, 3. Oh no, it's I'm at 10. I guess. The counting was a little bit distracting. The other distracting part that I found as well was when Joni was speaking and the presentation popped up. It was, and then Joni would jump over onto the side of the screen. So that was a little bit distracting. But overall, I congratulate Joni on an outstanding speech. All the technology challenges that we face on these online presentations is always a bit of a challenge. But yeah, this is the environment to test and to grow, and that's why we are part of this Toastmasters group. So thank you very much for the opportunity to evaluate Joni. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Well, Henry, that was a great evaluation, but you're not done yet. Next up, we have our awe counter. Henry, can you please give us your report?
Cool. Generally, the awe counter, and I think if I would count myself, I would be the winner tonight. When we started the meeting, I did hear Graham. No, sorry. was David. Sorry, David had a couple of R's. But and in my previous time with Toastmasters, I saw that when you are presenting a non-prepared type of a speech, then a lot of these fillers kind of prop in where you thinking of something, and then the is and the ums and so forth comes in. So I would just maybe put in a little bit of a pause there, but also not a long pause. I've been told by my family that I pause a lot instead of saying ums, and that's also a little bit distracting as well. Then Gregory, I counted a couple of ums in your speech as well. So what you could do maybe is just listen back on this recording and just have a look at that. But overall, the ums and the ahs and the fillers, I didn't pick up too many. These guys and Carolina started with one and I in my past Toastmasters experience sometimes as well is when somebody starts a speech, they and then they start. So it's just something that you can be a bit mindful about. Thank you very much, General General Evaluator.
Well, thank you, Henry, and I appreciate you doing double duty tonight. Next up is our grammarian, and that is our immediate past president, Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much. I am happy to say that the word spontaneous was used several times by at least two people, myself and Kim, and adding up all the spontaneous uses of the word, I am shamefully saying that I won because I used the word spontaneous more than anybody else during the meeting, but it was a good word and I was happy to hear that other people used it as well. So congratulations for all those spontaneous uses of the word spontaneous.
Well, thank you, Andy. Next up is our watcher and another person doing double duty, Jim Barber.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I love being watcher at online presenters because we all know what we are doing. We've got our lighting is very well done. It's effective. Everybody has particularly good use of the visual frame, with one exception, just a minor little thing. But Gregory is our newest member. You look fine now. You're in the frame and you're using the frame very well, but you spend you spend a lot of the meeting kind of back like that, and it's not a good use of the visual frame. Now, when you were speaking, that was fine because you had your various technical things, your charts and things like that scattered around you. So if you were relatively small in the frame, that worked out well. That was fine. But you're on camera and people are looking at you even when you're not speaking. And then when you're a little part of the frame and there's nothing behind you except your background, which is very good, but it's nothing really exciting or anything like that. It works better if you are like you are right now and get a little bit larger in the frame, get a little closer to the camera or zoom your camera or something like that. Minor detail though, everybody did great. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, sir. Now, next up, we have Gregory Bundschoks with the chat monitor report.
All right, in looking at this, we started off with the word of the day, as was mentioned with Andy, who had done, or the what was it? Yeah, Andrew having been the winner for spontaneous use. And in one of the big things that I ended up seeing, which is to be reiterated from Andy, is the Facebook group link, so we can continue to stay on top of that. Graham, in the tips of the day, he ended up including those into the chat as well for all of us to go through and use again as we can see fit. There was a lot of good information on that, so thank you, Graham. And another thing that Graham said that I thought was really kind of good on this too is he had mentioned that he had in the 8 years done 25 different icebreakers, which is kind of nice to end up reiterating once again that it's not bad going back over the old stuff to to reinforce new habits or learning old things or getting better at the basics. And I think even Jody had made a mention of that as well too. I mentioned in the table topics was for Kim with regards to the innovation on how she ended up putting the table topics together. So great job on that. And that's pretty much the extent of most of the chats itself of pertinence. So thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Is this your first time doing that role, Greg?
Second.
Oh, well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right, David, did you have anything to add? I know you've been posting your times. Did you have anything you wanted to report on?
No. People did a pretty good job of staying within bounds. Except for Joni. Gotta be mean to Joni again. But no, other than that, everybody did well.
Okay, well now I'm going to give you my report. Spontaneous was a perfect word for tonight's meeting because we were left with a lot of empty roles at the beginning of the meeting. So people had to, bob and weave and fill in those spots right up at the top. Now, I know that's acceptable when we have a last minute drop like our Toastmaster did today. But I really want to encourage everybody to do a little bit better about signing up for roles in advance because we should be all set to go when the meeting starts. Now, we had some very interesting and inspiring speeches. And I have to say that, Kim, you challenged us with your table topics. When you ask those table topics or, give us those table topics, you really make us think. And it's a little less I guess, common than the kind of table topics we're used to hearing. So extremely well done and a lot of fun. Evaluations were thoughtful and insightful, and I am very happy to see all the people who are willing to come together to make this meeting work. That's all I have for you this evening, and I would like to call upon our vote counter next to give us the results. Andre. Sorry, I almost forgot your name.
Marianne, I've posted the results in the chat box. You can see the best table topic speaker is Stephanie, our guest. Well done. Really, really pleased with Stephanie's results. It was an excellent table topics. She sold it really, really well. And we have a best evaluator, Carolina Ramirez. Congratulations, Carolina, for your very useful evaluation. And of course, drum roll for best speaker. Of course, is Gregory Bundschoks. Congratulations, Gregory. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thanks, Andre. Well done. And I would at this time like to pass it back to Jim Barber.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, and I will just simply say that I enjoyed being your Toastmaster this evening. I was privileged to do that, and I look forward to another opportunity to do it again. In the meantime, I will now return control to our president so that he can close out the meeting, David Carr.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I have to get used to the fact that it's coming back to me at the end, but maybe we'll give Graham a minute to try and fill the agenda for next week in a moment, if you're able to stay for a few minutes more, Graham. But before we do that, let's hear from our guest, Stephanie. Now, Henry's also a guest, but he's on the verge of becoming a member. It's just a paperwork issue at this point. But Stephanie, did you enjoy the meeting today? Any feedback for us on what we should improve?
Thank you. Yes, I did enjoy the meeting today, and the tip was very useful. I was taking some notes, and Graham, thank you for adding the comments or adding some notes in the comments. They closely align to my notes, with the exception of a few things. So very grateful to get your notes afterwards as well. The table topics was definitely challenging. It's the first time for me seeing something like that. It was quite, I guess at the beginning, I was a bit nervous to be called upon, but I'm glad that I did accept the challenge. I know that this is how we grow as Toastmasters. So definitely a good meeting, and I am grateful to to attend. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. And maybe one other thing that I'd take a moment for before I hand it to Graham is, anybody have ideas about what we can do to get more people in the doors here? You know, I always encourage people to invite a guest, but maybe you've already picked on the guests who you think might be interested, and have run out of that list. But Marianne, I see a hand. So, what quick thought?
When I first joined this club, one of the things that happened on a fairly regular basis was we had an outside speaker come in and teach us something. And I really enjoy that, and I got a lot out of that.
Okay, good. Yeah, we haven't done that in a little while anyways. Yeah, I think the last one might have been something about hybrid clubs or whatever that we did a while ago. But no, that's a good suggestion, and that's always something that we can also build some buzz and some publicity about. And Andrea's doing a great job of organizing this program of testimonial videos, and we're putting them out on Facebook, and I see people liking the Facebook post and then not actually showing up here. But we hope, there's this theory in advertising and marketing that you have to make a lot of impressions on people sometimes before they take action. And so hopefully we're getting into more people's heads, and eventually we'll get them in the door. But with that, let me ask Graham if he has some roles to fill for next week.
Sure, yes. Before we stop the recording, though, there is something I wanted to do as VP Education, and that is offer congratulations to Antoinette Trim, who's not here, but I want it on the record anyway, for the successful completion of her presentation mastery path, which I reckon is quite an achievement. And there is also something that I want to do, but first I need to find it. And that's because I've got the wrong windows open here. My wife cannot understand how I can possibly have 27 windows open at any given time, but I do that all the time. There's somebody else I wanted to congratulate, and I know this because I actually went in and ticked the boxes. Congratulations to Andrei Smolenko for completing levels 2 and 3 of Engaging Humor. So again, congratulations to Andrei for continuing to step up and move forward. Okay. So that's that. Now let's take a look at our next week's agenda. We'll take a look at what we currently have and then find out what we need to fill. Go back to share screen. Where are we? That's this one. Is that this one here? Must be this one. Yep, here we go. So for our next meeting, which is on the 4th of December, on which I will, by the way, be on a cruise ship, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to be here. We have nobody. We have no Toastmaster. We have